Welcome to Live and Lead for Impact, an important piece of the Impact Academy. And you can find more about that at myimpactacademy.com/join. So I'm Kirsten Raj, your host. Thanks so much for joining. I am talking about family business today. It's one of my favorite places to play. And in recent episodes, I've talked about assumptions, like where are you assuming versus having the facts. Also some other strategies about where are you, not sharing goals, where are you feeling unheard in your ideas, etc. So that's another, that was episode 222. But so if you want to take a listen to that, but hopefully you've heard that already. But so now I'm going to dive a little deeper into assumptions versus facts and really have you looking at again, we can get so tripped up in thinking that it's facts, but we're really just assuming. So are your truths assumptions or facts in your family business? And again, I've been working with family businesses for years with all kinds of industries. And what makes them so unique and why I love working in family businesses, they have a shared history, unlike coworkers in a non-family business. The connection to the business is just a part of the relationship, the very long-standing relationship. But also sometimes, again, when family and business collide, if there are difficulties in relationships or communication, it can really ignite friction beyond what you might see in other types of businesses. So I want to today, like I said, to have you really dive into an reality check is what I call it. Are you assuming, or are the things that you think are true facts? And I'm going to give you some specific things to look at, some questions to ask, and I'm going to really have you, again, do the extra work, get real. If you believe it's a fact, why? What's the proof that it's a fact? So let me, here are the two things I'm going to have you look at once I give you this list of questions. And again, download. You can find it at episode 224 or in the My Impact Academy portal. Absolutely download this page so that you can have the questions. So here's how you're going to reality check. Have these truths been stated, discussed, and documented? And if they haven't been, are you just assuming? Or is it decisions you think are final, but possibly aren't? So there's lots of nuances there. And again, with my wealth of experience for so many years working with family business, I see this happen so often. I recently had someone who is starting to enter into the father's business and moving her family. Everyone's quitting their jobs to get involved with the family business. And then kind of as an afterthought, she said, oh yeah, well, my dad's business partner is very ill. He's in the hospital. And we don't know how long he's going to be a part of the business. And that had me asking, well, does that person have family? Do you know what the plans are? Is there something documented? And she said, oh, it's so uncomfortable talking about it now, but I don't think his family wants anything to do with the business. Those are some huge assumptions to make without having actual conversations. And not only do you have to have the conversations, there have to be decisions after those conversations, and those decisions need to be documented. So what's documented? Because that becomes what's true if something happens with one of the business owners, especially. So here are the main questions to ask yourself really around this kind of topic. 1, who does the work for the business? Sometimes this is just assumed. Who makes decisions for the business? This can be something different. So sometimes family members or extended family members or partners, they don't work for the business, but they have a lot of power when it comes to decision making. I know in another episode, I talked about a family that I had worked with where 2 of the siblings worked in the business. 4 did not, but they all had equal decision making. So these are some important things to think about because they can create a lot of friction and difficulty in the business. How about who owns the business? So ultimately, so in the scenario that I just shared, right now, 2 partners own the business. One is very ill. Children on one side of the equation are coming into the business, but they're not going to have ownership at all. And the father can say what he will, but, what's been talked about, what's been decided, and what's been documented, that's going to become important because that is the fact. So you can think about like, oh, well, I'm entering into the business. I don't think anyone of the partner's family wants anything to do with the business. They're not working in the business, but we're giving it our all. We're giving it all of our time. We're investing everything. All our eggs are in this one basket. And so all will be well. But the truth is, when money's involved and in the middle of crisis or conflict, you don't know how people are going to react. And if you're just assuming versus knowing and documenting what people want, you're really not aligned with what might happen. The next is who benefits financially from the business. So again, there can be extended family benefiting from the business. And these have ramifications as well. Or maybe you're someone benefiting financially from a business that you're not actually in, and you assume that that's going to be forever. But what's been discussed, what's been decided, and what's been documented? Because again, that's what's fact. I'm going to keep stating this over and over because too often I see family business members really in the world of assumption. I find myself constantly saying, you're in the world of assumption and you really need to be sure about this, because we can end up with all of our actions and investments of time and money going into a business all based on what we believe is true when it might not be. So those first set of questions were for what's true about the business now versus what you're assuming. So again, that's who does the work of the business, who makes decisions for the business, who owns the business, and who benefits financially from the business. And I'm going to say, really take a look at not what's stated, but what happens too. So very often when the next generation enters the family business, they are told that they're decision makers. They might have big titles, maybe some big salaries, but they don't always have decision-making power. And again, it could be stated, but if it's not decided and it's not coming to fruition as you enter the business, then it's not a fact. So the next thing is you ask these same questions about the future, because that's the path of the business going forward. So there's today, what do we know to be fact? Because it's been discussed, decided, and documented. Versus what do we assume? And then there's the future plans of the business. So really that scenario that I talked about, there were a bunch of assumptions about what's happening now as the next generation, husband and wife, relocating their family to both dive into this business. They were assuming like right now, and hadn't had the conversations even, that they were going to have decision-making power. They were assuming how much financial benefit they were going to get from all of their work in the business. And so that's the now, but then for the future, they also were making some assumptions. So you ask those same questions about the future. In the future, who will do the work for the business? In the future, who will make decisions for the business? So in that scenario, if the partner passes away or becomes incapacitated or just pulls out of the business altogether, will any of his family members take over some of his decision-making authority? That was an unknown. So they were assuming all would be well, but unless it's discussed, decided, and documented, it's not fact. Who owns the business? So again, they're assuming that in the future, that family's not going to want anything to do with the business. But if it's part of an estate, there's likely going to be some ownership. And maybe they don't want to have anything to do with the business, but they have ownership and decision-making power, and that can sometimes force a sale. Or you have people who have decision-making power, don't want anything to do with the business, make poor decisions, and you've put all your eggs in that one basket. These are important things to know. And then who benefits financially? Again, you can't assume that if there's a business partner that even if the family doesn't want anything to do with the business, that they won't be gaining financially from it while you put all your blood, sweat, and tears into it. So these are the key questions that you want to ask and get answered for now and for the future. So I hope that this has helped, and I hope it has you motivated to dive into these conversations. If you are sitting there realizing that a lot of what you're thinking is fact is just assumed. And if you need any assistance in gaining clarity for yourself or diving through some of those tough conversations, I am here to help. So you can always grab time on my calendar for a discovery call to see if there are some next steps that I can help you with. You can do that by going to defeatthedrama.com/call. Or there's tons of resources also in the Impact Academy, which you can find at myimpactacademy.com/join. And there is a 14-day free trial waiting for you there. So thanks so much for hanging out with me. I hope you feel inspired and motivated. Please download the PDF for this episode so that you can dive through these questions and get very clear about whether you are making your decisions personally on fact or fiction. Make it a great day. Take care.